My people, are you here or are you here? Can you hear me? Let me know how good it is. Kwirinda ijwi ry'imfubyi ndakubona. Alright, let me turn down the music. Let me turn off the music. My people, welcome, welcome, welcome. I have so much more music to turn off. Welcome back, my people, to your favorite U&I talk show. Today we are on Saturday, November 23rd, 2024. I'm just going to comment a few seconds on what is happening in Canada, in the Western world right now, which is actually concerning. The Western world, which has been welcoming refugees. I'm a refugee, and welcoming immigrants. And then so you wonder, all these people who are being welcomed in your society, I'm in Canada, I'm in Vancouver, how are they supposed to behave? What kind of citizens are they supposed to become? And if ever there's a conflict in their home country, how are they supposed to express themselves or protest in this country? So it's been disturbing what has been happening, in the name of protesting for something that is happening abroad, that people may get violent and protest violently. And then the Canadian government is kind of playing an unbalanced deux poids deux mesures, as they say in French. Like, oh yeah, or the two-tier care in the UK. So it's turning out like it's a two-tier Trudeau in Canada, because the way Trudeau treated Canadian people who were protesting in peace, the Freedom Convoy, and they were protesting something that was justified and happening right here in Canada, and the way that the Canadian government mistreated them. And now you see people who are protesting for something that is happening outside of Canada, as justified as their cause may be, but then they get violent. So now you wonder, is the Canadian government going to continue this two-tier Trudeau style, or are they going to hold accountable people who are violating Canadian values, Canadian laws, and protesting in violence? So let me show you what I'm talking about. It just happened in Montreal, Canada. Montreal is my city. I used to live in Montreal. I moved to Vancouver from Montreal, and it's like, whoa, what the hell? And then when you know that a lot of these people be calling themselves Muslim of Islam, and they be calling themselves the religion of peace. I mean, what does this have to do with peace? So like, what is this? I mean, are people going to, if Canadians are disgusted by this kind of behavior in their own country, are you going to call them racist? Huh? Like, who would appreciate for people that you host, that you have welcomed in your country as immigrants or as refugees, to come and do this in your country in the name of a cause that's not even in this country? And then, as this lady is saying, I follow her on Twitter X. She's one of the Canadian freedom lovers. Actual terrorist sympathizers were destroying an entire city. Trudeau does nothing, and peaceful truckers honk some horns, shovel snow off the sidewalk. Trudeau unleashes a war measures act on them. I am beyond disgusted, my people. Like, are you going to understand what she's talking about, or are you going to be talking about racism, this and that? You know, like, so why would people do this? Like, what does this actually solve and resolve? You know, so I want people to check themselves. Um, I was writing in my new book that's gonna come out soon, that when African Americans were protesting in America, all civil liberties and all the freedom fighting that they have done, protesting. They were protesting and marching for something that was happening to them in the land where they were, and eventually they actually obtained progress in the land where they are. But here you have people who are not oppressed in the land where they are, who are treated great in the land where they are. And then this is how they behave in the land that has welcomed them. You know what I mean? Like, when African Americans, when Black people were protesting, they were protesting for an injustice that is being committed to them in the land where they live. So for people to be so well treated in Canada and then to do this in the name of something that's not even happening to them in the land where they live, what is that? What is that? Why can't people respect Canada and be grateful for what Canada has done for all of immigrants and all refugees? And then if they have a cause, they can do it in peace. They can do it within the Canadian law, within Canadian values, and they will be heard. But doing this, what does it accomplish in Canada? The only thing that I can see it accomplishing is, Canadian people not even supporting you at all. Because when Canadian people were protesting for freedom, they were doing it in peace. I'm gonna take out the music, because in case I don't have the rights to it, I don't want them to block. Canadian people, when they were protesting for an injustice that was happening in Canada. Two Canadians, millions of Canadians threatened, the government threatened, and trying to occupy everybody's body without informed consent. And Canadians protested in peace and love, my people. I loved it so much. I love all my fellow Canadians who stood up with Canadian flags in peace, in joy, and protested for all our rights, for all our freedom. I love them forever, always and forever. We always be grateful. They showed a great example of how it's done. The freedom lovers of Canada and the Freedom Convoy, and the whole world loved it. And many other people around the world rose up in peace and joy. Gen Z in Kenya in peace and joy, you know? So why can't people take lessons from these great Canadians who protested in peace and love and joy, and then that to defend everyone, something that was concerning everyone in Canada? How did the Canadian government react? This is one of the people that they're calling Freedom Convoy protester Pat King found guilty of mischief in Ottawa. They're calling him one of the leaders. Can you imagine? So one of the people who participated in the Freedom Convoy, who to protest in peace, who committed no harm against nobody, is the one that the Canadian government is gonna arrest and put into some courts, and then the Canadian people, the Canadian protesters who were protesting in peace and love and joy, that's when the Trudeau uh, dictatorship, uh, declared a state of emergency for and called all kinds of names, called them racist, called them Nazis, and all kinds of nonsense, right? So these are the people who Canada penalized, and then they allow this to happen. So it's as if Canadian politicians, the Liberals, the NDP, particularly, have actually become um, how African dictators are so corrupted and they're always working against the interest of their own people. And, we are Africans and we're like, oh, our politicians have sold out. Oh, they're house niggers, slaves, bought out just to slave traders who are selling out their own people and who do nothing of good for their own people. So I'm under the impression that this is what has happened to Canada, to Canadian politicians, to the UK politicians, to Biden. Hence why he was voted out, So Trump, watch out, if you don't serve the people, it's gonna go so bad for you, you know what I mean? So, and it's going to go very bad for all these politicians who are not serving their people's interest, who are ready to trash their own people's freedoms and rights, and yet they allow that to happen, um, over a cause as justified as it may be, but it's not even happening in Canada, and no one has even trashed Canadian rights and freedoms. None of them who live in Canada, none of their rights have been trashed and disrespected. Um, so, in the name of a cause as justified as it may be, which is happening outside of Canada, you are going to trash Canada? Like, how does that even make sense? The country that has welcomed you as a refugee or as an immigrant is the country that you're going to trash. What does that solve? Like, what does that solve? So, if I was the dictator in this country, Trudeau is the dictator in this country. If I was the dictator in this country, I would definitely be arresting all the people who are trashing Canada and who are violently protesting and who are taking religions out of the proper space for religion and taking religion in the streets. And then I would be reminding people that when you go to other people's countries, you're supposed to respect their culture, you're supposed to respect their law. We are law abiding citizens. We come here as refugees, but we appreciate precisely the fact that this is a country based on laws that gives everybody freedoms and rights, and none of us is allowed to trash the freedoms and the rights, because that's exactly what we appreciate about Canada, and that's precisely why we came here. So if you don't appreciate Canada being a lawful society that has freedoms and rights and that is at peace for everyone, like, why are you even in this country? It makes no sense. So yeah, if I definitely was the dictator in this country, I will definitely hold accountable people who are disrespecting the law, and I would definitely pardon and free the people who are protesting in peace, who trashed no one, who harmed no one, and yet they are the ones that the law and the justice system is going after. It's completely upside down. So, my fellow Canadians, vote for me in your next elections. I'm running for dictator of Canada. All right, that's all I had to say in English. Let's move into French. It's the Canadian way of life, by the way. They be speaking in English and then they move into French. Ah, my people, see you next time. See you in the next show. Merci la famille, merci d'être là. Bougeons en français, oh. Alors, la famille, re-bienvenue sur U&I TALK SHOW. Aujourd'hui, samedi détente politique. Nous sommes le samedi 23 novembre 2024. Alors, j'étais en train de parler en anglais de ce qui se passe, de la politique canadienne, de ce qui se passe au Canada, des choses vraiment horribles, des choses incompréhensibles. On dirait que les dirigeants canadiens sont en fait devenus comme les dictateurs africains. Les dictateurs africains qui sont vendus et qui ne servent plus les intérêts de leur peuple, les intérêts de leur nation, à qui est-ce qu'ils ont été vendus, pourquoi ils font des choses qui ne sont pas dans l'intérêt de leur peuple, c'est complètement incompréhensible. Et puis, on était aussi en train de commenter sur cette histoire de manifestation de protestants à Montréal pour la cause Palestine contre Israël. Donc, j'étais en train de dire que aussi justifié que puisse être une cause, est-ce que les gens ont le droit de faire du mal dans un pays pacifiste, accueillant comme le Canada qui a accueilli nous, les refugees et tous ces immigrants qui nous a accueillis en paix, dans la liberté, avec tous nos droits et qu'on peut protester pacifiquement, mais que les gens alors s'autorisent de protester dans la violence. Et pire encore, il y a des gens dans ce mouvement, dans cette cause, qui se disent de l'islam, et l'islam qui se dit une religion de la paix. Alors, on devrait voir la paix et l'amour dans des choses qui se disent de l'islam. Où est la paix? Où est l'amour? On ne voit pas tout ça. Et puis alors, le Canada, ce qui est bizarre, c'est qu'au Canada, quand les Canadiens se sont, eux, levés pour défendre leurs droits et libertés qui avaient été bafoués par les libéraux, le gouvernement de Trudeau du NDP de Jagmeet Singh, comment est-ce que le gouvernement du Trudeau s'est comporté? Hein? Ils ont déclaré l'état d'urgence, ils ont bafoué les droits des manifestants, alors que les manifestants canadiens, eux, étaient dans la paix et dans la joie, et qu'ils avaient des drapeaux canadiens et que tout le monde se sentait inclus et qu'ils n'ont pas mis aucune religion devant et qu'ils ont inspiré le monde entier. Moi, j'ai vraiment, dans mon nouveau livre que je vais bientôt sortir, c'est vraiment mon livre, c'est une déclaration d'amour à tous les freedom lovers du Canada, évidemment, d'abord, et puis du monde entier. Et puis, c'est aussi pour leur dire merci. Merci à tous les freedom lovers du Canada qui se sont levés en paix avec les drapeaux canadiens, dans la joie, et en accueillant tout le monde sans mettre sans amener la religion dedans, sans enfreindre les droits et libertés de qui que ce soit. Vraiment, dans la paix, dans l'amour et dans la joie, les Canadiens se sont levés pour défendre les droits de nous tous, les droits de tous les Canadiens, les droits de tous ceux qui habitent au Canada dans la paix. Et c'est le gouvernement qui avait voulu violer nos droits. Et ça, c'est une cause qui se passait ici au Canada. Donc, vraiment, c'est incompréhensible que le gouvernement libéral puisse bafouer les droits des Canadiens qui se sont levés dans la paix et va poursuivre des gens comme Pat King, qui n'a fait du mal à personne, qui n'a fait que défendre les Canadiens. Et puis ensuite, alors, qu'est-ce que le gouvernement fait face à ça? C'est quoi ces deux poids, deux mesures? Hein? Alors que le Canada, c'est un pays d'immigrants. Tous les immigrants doivent respecter la loi. Tous les refugees doivent respecter la loi. Aucune religion, aucun groupe d'immigrants ne devrait être exempté. Aucun d'entre nous ne devrait être capable de faire ça dans les rues du Canada. Donc, je ne sais pas qu'est-ce qu'ils veulent amener. Je ne sais pas en quoi est-ce que ça avance la cause qu'ils défendent. Mais la seule chose que ça peut faire, c'est plutôt dégoûter les gens parce qu'ils vont se dire, on a accueilli les gens chez nous, on les a bien accueillis, nous on vit dans la paix et quand on veut protester, on le fait dans la paix et dans la joie en respectant tout le monde. Et puis voilà le résultat. Donc, à quoi est-ce que jouent les politiciens au Canada en faisant du mal aux Canadiens qui protestent dans la paix et dans la joie, et puis en laissant ce genre de choses se passer. Donc, ils s'imaginent que ça va donner quoi comme, résultat à long terme. Donc, ça vraiment, c'est une question que je pose et puis j'exprime mon opinion et mes inquiétudes aussi pour la société canadienne. Si tout le monde devait protester et manifester dans la violence et dans les menaces et tout, en étant agité, tendu, pour les causes qui se passent à l'extérieur du Canada. Si tout le monde devait faire ça, ça deviendrait le désordre total dans ce pays qui est pourtant en paix. Et puis, n'oublions pas que, par exemple, j'avais parlé aussi des Black Americans, African Americans, la cause des Black Americans qui ont toujours manifesté, mais qui ont manifesté pour des droits et des libertés là où ils sont, ici au Canada, ici aux États-Unis, qui ont obtenu du progrès. Mais ils manifestaient aussi pour obtenir quelque chose là où ils sont, dans le pays dans lequel où ils habitent. Alors, ça fait bizarre de voir des gens qui sont bien traités dans le pays où ils habitent, dont leurs droits et libertés n'ont été bafoués nulle part dans le pays où ils habitent, mais au nom d'une cause qui ne se passe même pas dans le pays où ils habitent, ils sont prêts à détruire le pays où ils habitent. Est-ce que ça a un sens, la famille? C'est ça les questions que je me pose. Est-ce que ça a un sens? Combien de temps que les Canadiens vont être patients? Combien de temps que les autorités vont tolérer tout ça? Ou que le gouvernement des libéraux va tolérer les deux poids, deux mesures? Et puis surtout, quand il y aura les élections, ben, il y aura un changement dans ce pays. Il doit y avoir un changement dans ce pays parce que le gouvernement de Trudeau s'est vraiment très mal comporté envers les Canadiens. Et puis voilà, le pays ne se porte pas mieux, ni économiquement, ni moralement, ni socialement. Donc, c'est sûr qu'aux prochaines élections, là, le Parti libéral du Canada fédéral sera vraiment détruit et justement parce que ils se sont très, 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 très mal comportés. Donc, voilà, c'est ce que j'avais à dire. Je vais prendre quelques commentaires et puis on va continuer. All right. Joseph John, U&I Talk Show, we love you. These people think Canada is like Rwanda where they do everything without law. Wait, what can happen? They chases all of them out of that country. Yo, I think some people should definitely get arrested and get deported, because why are you trashing Canada in the name of a cause that's not even happening in Canada, as justified as it may be? Why would you trash a peaceful country to protest for something that's not even happening in Canada? We all have causes that we care about that are not in Canada. If we all start to trash this country, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen, my people? So these things, man, these things need to be called out. All right. Kenny B 1965, I see you. Hi, just recently found your channel and absolutely love the way you explain things. I'm in the UK and you opened my eyes to the recent sadness occurring in the UK. Yo, man, salute to the people in the UK. The UK people, you have also been so patient and so welcoming to all of us refugees and immigrants, and so um you don't deserve to be repaid by all this kind of nonsense that is happening in your streets. Oh my goodness. And definitely your politicians have betrayed you. They have become just like African dictators who betray their own people, who sell out their own people. I used to think that it was just African dictators who sell out their own people to some entities that we don't even know, and then they're just making their own people suffer. But the politicians in the UK have sold out their own people and they're willing to trash their own country. Ah, it's unbelievable, man. It's just unbelievable. So I don't know. I don't know why they would do that. Like, why would they do that? African politicians, the reason why they usually do that, obviously, it's poverty. Many of them are coming out of poverty. For example, the Kagamistan in Rwanda, he was like a street kid, very poor, selling stuff on the street. They say allegedly that he was one of those street kids who's selling eggs in the street, right? So he grows up with this anger and he wants to become rich. So some of these African politicians, they are driven by greed and they want to be rich, right? But a lot of these politicians in the UK, in Europe, in Canada, like the Kier guy, he's not a poor guy. He's going to sell out his country to become rich, but then isn't he living in the same country? Doesn't he have children who are going to inherit this country? Like, what's going to happen once he has destroyed his own country? The problem in the West is that you guys can't even be like refugees. Like, where are you going to be running to, since we, the refugees, when criminal African dictators do that to us in our own countries, we'd be running to your countries, right? So when they do this, when your own politicians do this to you in your countries, the country that was welcoming in all these immigrants and all these refugees, where are you supposed to run to? So it's like they're actually pushing you in some sort of a corner, and you have absolutely no choice but to defend yourself, to defend your freedom as well. Otherwise, you're just going to become slaves in your own country as well. I think that's what's happening. That's what I'm observing. Kenny B 165. I love all people and we feel so betrayed. You have been so betrayed, man. You have been so betrayed. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. So stand your ground. They're like bullies. They want to test you and see how far they can push you. So if you allow them to push you, they will keep pushing. They will never stop. All right. So I think you have the responsibility to defend your own nation. I always admired British people for the Magna Carta. This is not new in your history, in your culture. Your elites, your kings, they have always tried to oppress you and to enslave you. Generation after generation, you have also been fighting for your freedom. The Magna Carta, taking away all this power from the kings and the queens, it didn't just happen. You had to fight for it. They didn't just give you your freedom. You had to stand for it. So you are definitely going to be enslaved in your own country if you don't stand up for your freedom, as you have been standing up for your freedom generation after generation. The freedoms and the rights that you have today did not magically happen, and they were not given to you because the people who were ruling over you, they always wanted to oppress you. They always wanted you to be slaves. Always loved that William Wallace movie, The Braveheart. Freedom! Kenny B, I think you hit the nail directly on the head regarding recent events. We aren't even allowed an opinion. It's so confusing as to what's going on. You're not allowed an opinion, but the people, the refugees and the immigrants that you have hosted in your country, they're allowed an opinion. It doesn't even make any sense. But they're allowed an opinion because your country has given them freedom of speech. So how can a country give freedom of speech to refugees and immigrants and then take it away from the national citizens? It makes no sense. British people, Kenny B1965 continues. I think we are teetering on a revolution. People can only take so much. Mhm. The people of the UK are not to blame. It's the tyrants and the billionaires who want wars. And that's precisely maybe why they also want chaos. And this chaos has been manufactured on purpose. They're the ones, they could, if they wanted to, have, guard your borders and have strict laws and make sure that the laws are respected, but no, they do it on purpose. They do it on purpose so you can be invaded and deluded, and your society up in revolt. And then when you're in revolt, they create new laws to oppress you even more, to take away your freedoms and your rights, using these refugees and these immigrants. It's unbelievable how the Western world is also, the Western politicians are also trying to destroy their own people. When African politicians, this is so crazy. When African politicians do this to their own people, usually there's even like the UN intervening. You see this? But for the West, the UN is completely silent. The UN will never speak. Why? Because the UN is part of the whole madness that wants to oppress people and enslave people, anyways. So they don't want anyone to be free. So it's like the people in the UK, you are on your own, and you have to defend yourself because you have been betrayed by the leaders, and the leaders have sold you out. And if you allow them to sell you out, you will become slaves. And I'm so sorry that that's the reality. But rest assured that anytime that people stand up for their freedoms, they win. And you have always stood up for your freedom and you have won. This is why you have inspired so many people around the world. The Magna Carta is inspiring, and this is why you have built the kind of society that everybody wants to come to. Why? Because you have built that society, right? So you can't afford to lose it, because it's good for you and it's good for even the people who want to come to it. So I'm with you, British people. Fight for your freedom. And I'm with the Canadian people. Stand for your freedom. Stand up for your freedom. This is why we love your countries. This is why we come to your countries while our countries are oppressed. And then if anything happens back to our countries, we have wars, we have genocides. And if we're going to express ourselves and protest, we can do it in peace without trashing the society that has welcomed us in peace, in freedom, with all the rights in their own society, right? So that's what's happening. Kenny B is like, I'll be honest, I'm scared, but for the future, for the children, I don't have any children, but I have 4 dogs who I worry about. I'm scared for the world. Yeah, and you see, this is may also be one of the reason why people may be scared of having children, because they're like, what kind of a world am I going to be bringing children into? What kind of a world is this? Is this a world where I want to bring children into, you know? But you know, some people are also daring to bring children into this world. I salute those people as well, because in the African spiritual way of seeing things, some of these children are returning ancestors, and some of them are worthy returning ancestors who will do amazing things and who will fight for freedom and who will continue to do good on this planet no matter what happens. So sometimes some people may be scared of having kids because they don't know how the world is going to be tomorrow. But at the same time, on the other hand, it's like some of these children who are going to be born are going to be returning ancestors who are going to free this world, because being free and freedom is a divine right. And we all have the divine right to freedom. And it is something that is inscribed in the indestructible principles, universal principles, that freedom will always win. So you know, be peace and be joy today. You know, so that if you were to move on, you would move on in peace, and then you know, tomorrow will take care of itself. And you know, rest assured that the supreme being is not unfair. Humans are unfair, but we say in Kinyarwanda, Imana ntibera. Imana is not unfair. The supreme being, the creator, is not unfair. And this is why the people who are fighting for freedom, the truth speakers who dare speak the truth, the peace lovers, we will always win, my people. No matter how big the aggressor, the opposition, the oppression is, we will always win, because it's part of our divine rights. All right, my people, I'm moving into Kinyarwanda now. Thank you so much. And thank you, Kenny. And thank you, everybody. Let's move into Kinyarwanda. And thank you to all the French people who are here as well. You know, I'll see you next. All right, my people, dukomeze tugere mu Kinyarwanda, hanyuma dukomeze tuganire.